Cricket is my passion and I cannot avoid it. First of all, let me welcome none other than Eoin Morgan, the World Cup winning captain of England. Welcome, Owen.
The pleasure.
So, how have you been keeping, Owen?
I've been really well, thanks for asking. We've been in lockdown now for 11 or so weeks. The pandemic, I think, has hit everybody hard and off guard. And no other than us here in the UK, it's been devastating to see the amount of people pass away and also the amount of people struggle with the virus. It really has been such a bad time for everybody. But myself, I'm well and healthy, and my family are as well, and my extended family. And we've recently had some very, very good news. My wife gave birth to our first child, baby Leo, 12 weeks ago. So he's 12 weeks old today, which has been a complete silver lining in this situation that we all find ourselves in. So we're very happy, and touch wood, we're healthy and lucky. So we're soaking up being at home, enjoying him, and staying safe.
So, congratulations to the Morgans family, to your wife, for the beautiful son which you have had. Leo, I believe is his name, right?
That's right. Yeah, Leo Louis Oliver Morgan.
Wonderful, wonderful. Nothing bigger than having your first child. Very happy.
Yeah, it's cool. It's exciting. It's such a rare feeling. Obviously, everybody talks about it and describes it as the best feeling ever, and it is. It's such a unique love for a person that you find it difficult to describe. I think that you need to go through it in order to experience it. So we're loving it.
Last year you were on the cricket field playing the World Cup, and this time around things have changed so much. Did you ever expect that such a thing would happen? None of us expected, but such a turnaround.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, to go back 12 months ago, we were on the cusp of something really, really special. We'd done all the hard work. We prepared as best as we could, and actually going into that World Cup, we were, I suppose, quietly confident. And with it being at home as well, it was something quite special about the feeling that was going around the camp. Obviously, going through that World Cup presented some really difficult challenges and some great opposition. I don't think one team went through the World Cup without being beaten, which goes to show the high standard of a 10-team World Cup. And I think given the response from not only the public in England, but everybody around the world with the quality of cricket that was played, I think everybody really enjoyed it.
Great. Before I come to 2019 World Cup, you were made the captain just 2 months before the 2015 World Cup. Unfortunately, that didn't go well. So how did the England team turn around in 4 years' time? I know there was a lot of planning going by, but how would you like to sum it up?
Yeah, I think to say it didn't go well is a bit of an understatement. It was a huge car crash. Going into the World Cup, we were away from home. We were ranked number 6 in the world. We were playing a dated form of the game. It had led to us being successful probably 2 years previous to that World Cup. So 2013, we played really well. And then from that Champions Trophy, other sides around the world really did improve their game. The game became dominated by the bat, and the par score tended to go up quite a lot, which made bowling difficult as well. So your batting prowess really had to be exceptional going into that 2015 World Cup, and ours wasn't. We were a side that were still playing to get 275, 285, and we played really well. We'd get 300 or 310. Whereas the best sides in the world, you look at the top 4 sides or the semi-finalists in that tournament, they played some great cricket throughout the tournament, and it was dominated by the bat. They were so strong that they just blew us away the whole time. So even if we did make quarterfinals or semi-finals, sort of going that extra mile sort of was never really going to happen. I suppose when we were bundled out of that tournament, I went through the tournament sort of making notes of what the best sides in the world were doing right then, and All of them seemed to play an aggressive brand of cricket that was played with a huge amount of freedom. And it wasn't completely reckless either. There was an element of control because they'd spent a period of time working on that aggressive nature in which they play. It had a huge positive effect on their fielding and their bowling. So I suppose one of the lessons from that was to try and implement that as soon as possible. I was extremely fortunate to be kept on as captain. Andrew Strauss kept me on, and when I returned from the IPL that year, we met up and talked about, he talked about having a blank sheet of paper and learning lessons and trying to bridge the gap between the best in the world and where we were at the moment, and trying to identify which players in particular playing county cricket could add huge amounts of value by playing in this manner. And to Andrew's credit, he almost gave free rein to the selectors, the coach Trevor Bayliss and Paul Farbrace and myself, to express and explore exactly what all of our options were at the time. And he emphasized that there would be an amount of trust built with these players because we would be allowed a significant amount of time for these players to play aggressively, to play high risk cricket, and for that to become the norm. And to his credit, he let that run for quite some time. And it was amazing, because the first game that we actually played after talking about producing the brand of cricket that we wanted to play, we actually scored 400 or over 400 against New Zealand, which was, again, amazing to watch. And we had just spent 2.5 months in Australia and New Zealand, watch New Zealand play this brand of cricket. And for us to come and play it almost immediately gave us a confidence, but also a template in the manner that we wanted to play moving forward.
It was a wonderful series. I remember after the World Cup against New Zealand, where every side was scoring almost 300. And in fact, you were the first side to score 400 in that series. And you all went on to win that series 3-2.
Yeah, it was such a compelling series. It certainly wasn't a series for the bowlers, probably until the last game. The last game of the series was a low-scoring game where, I think we were chasing maybe 230 or something like that, and we were struggling massively. And Johnny Bairstow came in for his first game in the series and played the innings of his life, and then seen us home.
Well, I believe that set the benchmark for England to take the World Cup campaign by storm, because you were the side who scored 24 times, 300 plus, and twice, if I'm not wrong, 400. And the highest against Australia, 480 or something.
Yeah, I think we've scored 400 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
Australia, Pakistan.
I remember Australia and Pakistan.
New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, you absolutely correct. We've scored more 300s, more 350s, more 400s, and more 450s than any other side in that 4-year period.
So in this period, when you were scoring 300 and 400 runs, there was, as they said, that England played fearless cricket. Now, how would you differentiate between fearless and reckless cricket?
Yeah, I think I suppose every batsman or sportsman thrives or pushes themselves to try and implement that mindset where there's a huge amount of freedom, but you can't dabble with the reckless side. I found, for me, the reckless side of playing cricket, and particularly batting, is producing something that you would never even think of doing in a game, and you just produce it out of nowhere. So there's no process, there's no methodology, and almost no thinking behind it. Whereas I think with the team that we have at the moment, there's a huge amount of process planning and methodology, and that's what makes it such a high level of skill to produce, is because when you have that process behind it, you can actually go back to it and improve your level of consistency with the risk that is probably deemed a high risk for anybody that's not doing it. But for the person that's doing it, because he goes through that process, he focuses on that and not necessarily the result or the consequence the whole time.
Well said, that not focusing on the result, that's important. But now, since we're talking about England's World Cup campaign, 2019 World Cup, you all started well against South Africa. Then you all had a setback against Pakistan, before whom you all won a series quite easily, but they, beat you in a game. And then all of a sudden, England had two losses back to back, one against Sri Lanka and one against Australia. So at that time, did it go in your mind that with three games to go, one was, and all three important games, I think one was against India and the other was New Zealand. So did it go into your back of your mind that no, England might miss out because you needed 4 points to be on 12?
Yeah, I think going through the group stages with such highs and lows, there was the first game against South Africa, and then against Pakistan. I suppose Pakistan have always been a bogey side for everybody because they have such an array of talent that can be produced on any given day that can beat any side. And that day at Trent Bridge, they thoroughly deserved to beat us. They played better cricket, they fielded bold and batted better than us. And sort of in between the other results, we had some fantastic performances. One against Bangladesh, Jason Roy scored 150. It was brilliant. Against the West Indies at the Rose Bowl, we bowled extremely well. Joe Root scored 100 to chase down a low score. And then against Afghanistan, we posted 398. So there were the highs and lows of both. And then our defeat against Sri Lanka was probably the most significant impact on our group stage performance because we played on a sluggish wicket at Headingley, and we were chasing quite a low total, and we found the ball hard to get away a little bit. But not only that, everything about our batting lacked that positive freedom or natural intent that we would normally play with. And when that starts to unfold, it's a little bit of an issue because you're going away from the process of how we would normally chase down any type of a score. So going and losing that game against Sri Lanka was quite a significant, I suppose, learning curve for us throughout that phase of the tournament. I mean, the next game against Australia completely blew us away because there was at Lords, yeah, there were 2 or 3 days between the Sri Lanka game and the Australia game, and there was such a hangover mentally from the way that we played. We didn't have time to go back, recharge, and think about how we were going to assess the next period. So after the Australia game, we travelled to Edgbaston, a ground that we have great success at, playing against a side that we have had success at in India. And we talked about the journey that we'd been on so far, and that it hadn't gone as smoothly as we'd have hoped, but this is the situation that we find ourselves in. And guys felt differently about different situations, but ultimately we came to the conclusion that we wanted to stick with the process that we had been successful with over the last 4 years. And that was a really strong place to be at, because previous teams that I've played with, when we've come up against serious challenges like that, we've never been able to say that when we've played like this, we are the best side in the world. And that was huge for us, coming into the tournament ranked number 1 over the past 4 years, setting quite substantial records, particularly with the bat, allowed us to draw on that. And I suppose inevitably go out and play against a really strong Indian team the following day and win. And I mean, Joe Root said the way sort of he looked at it when we talked about the next couple of games in against India and New Zealand was we're 4 games away from winning the World Cup, and we came into this tournament to win the World Cup, and we shouldn't give for anything less or hope for anything less. So it's a nice way of putting things, and it's a nice insight into somebody's mentality when our backs are against the wall.
Well, very well said, Owen. What did Owen eat for breakfast in the match against Afghanistan?
I can't remember. I can't remember. I was up early that morning. I actually was in the pool for a swim to loosen my back. My back was very, very stiff at that stage of the tournament, and I had to go into the ground early for treatment. And it's actually quite funny. We were 50-50 to whether we should send Joss in before me or not. And the only reason that I went in was because Joss told me to go in. So I asked, we normally have a conversation about the situation of the game. If we're in a commanding position, Joss will go in, because consistently over everybody else in the change room, he will get more 50 ball hundreds, which can win you a 50 over game. But he wasn't happy, so he sent me in. And I'm thankful for that.
Well, nobody can forget that innings of Eoin Morgan. Obviously, you played many such innings, but this innings, I'm sure at least one player, Rashid, will never forget, and so will Eoin Morgan. Anyway, coming to now the big games, the knockouts. You see, there's always a rivalry between Australia and England. And we all thought that it would be India playing England in the semis. But the last match where Australia lost to South Africa, the whole odds changed and you had to play against Australia in the semi-final. Before that, India definitely went down. Coming to that game, was that pressure in the back of your mind that they had beaten you all in the league stages?
Then and there, it wasn't, because of the games that we played and the way that we played against India and New Zealand in our final 2 group stage games. We were looking forward to the semi-final. Whether we played India or Australia, it didn't really matter. We played our best cricket of the tournament in those games. Johnny Bairstow had scored 200s. Jason Roy was back in the side. Our bowlers were extremely accurate and disciplined. Fast bowlers were bowling quick. We were just ready. The fact that we played Australia was brilliant. I mean, we love playing against Australia. They love playing against us. We know each other inside out. There's that huge rivalry that goes on between the 2 countries, and it's always a huge spectacle. So to play them in the semi-final was awesome. Yeah, I mean, it was something, like I said, the sort of mindset that we were going into the game with was just a really positive one, regardless of the team.
And then if I don't talk about the finals, which a match everybody says the match of the era, I believe nobody has witnessed such a great match against New Zealand in the finals. So what was going in your mind when you guys were chasing, and at one time it looked that England might probably go on to lose that game when you had only Stokes standing around?
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible day! It's the most thrilling and dramatic match I've ever played in or witnessed, and for it to be a World Cup final was just totally incredible. And the other thing that it's done for cricket at home is that the same day Lewis Hamilton won the British Grand Prix, and the longest ever Wimbledon final took place not far down the road from Lord's. So when you talk about spectacles in sport, cricket is now associated with such a huge day in sport, and for us that's brilliant, because it grows the game. But turning up to Lord's that day, I remember just thinking, we're ready, regardless of what's thrown at us. We're ready. But little did I know what was going to be in front of us. I think the game ebbed and flowed throughout the whole day. No side looked as if they were clearly in front or clearly behind. It was just so tight throughout the whole day. The only moment that I can think of that was a massive momentum changer for us was late. I think it was 3 or 4 overs to go. Jimmy Neesham bowled from the pavilion end, and Ben hit one just to the wide long on, and Trent Bolt caught it, trod on the rope, and it was 6. If Trent Bolt takes that catch, we're pretty much dead and buried, and that is New Zealand sort of out of our reach, bar something out of the ordinary happening. Every other event that happened that day, whether the ball hit the bat, the wide off the last ball of their innings, the wide off the first ball of our super over, the two sixes in the super over, they were extraordinary things, but they weren't things that just blew things away. Whereas if you take Ben Stokes' wicket at that moment, I mean, he was the key for us. His level head, his skill that he brought, just his clear thinking throughout the whole game was far superior to anybody else in our team right then, and hence why he produced the performance that he did.
Like you mentioned that the game ebbed and flowed throughout the day. At any given time, like you mentioned, when Bolt dropped that catch or probably missed out on that catch, even in the super over, did you every time believe that England are through or we have lost it? Even after when Archer was hit for a six, till the last ball,
I
rather.
went through the way I think is that is trying to assess what we need to do. So Jofra bowls wide, 2, then he gets hit for a 6. After the 6 is hit, all I'm thinking about is what we need to do to win the game. So we can still win the game. It's not a huge ask of us, particularly when you got Jofra with the ball in his hand. He's one of the world's best death bowlers. So he can always do something extraordinary. So for us, it was a matter of changing what we were doing and trying to take a wicket or get a dot ball. So Jofra's length then changed. And it was actually then that, I suppose, summed up where Jofra's head was at, because he went to bowl a bouncer, he missed his length, and Neesham sort of hit the top of the bat and went to short cover. Jofra's run to gather the ball. Could have gathered, looked to throw the ball at the stumps, but then stopped. If he throws the ball at the stumps there, they get an extra run. That's game over again. The clear thinking that Jofra had for such a young guy in his international career, his rookie year, I mean, that's awesome. It's something that you need to experience. For a guy who's played a lot of games for Rajasthan, he's played in Big Bash, he's been other tournaments around the world, it really is worth its weight in gold when it comes to moments like that.
And when the last ball was bowled and Guptill was on strike, 2 runs to win.
Yeah.
Did you give any advice to Jofra?
Here, when you're dealing with one of the best players in the world, there's very little that you ever need to say to them or motivate them. They're very driven, very passionate, and they are the best at what they do. So all you want to do is guide them and hopefully give them confidence. And Jofra, I just kept asking Jofra, what's your best ball? And he was saying his Yorker. I was like, absolutely, jam it in. And look, it's actually a beautiful ball. He misses his length a little bit, but what he does, which is key, is follow Martin Guptill. Martin Guptill, we had the whole of the offside up, got an extra man over into mid-wicket on the ring. So it's almost an off-spinner's field. So Guptill's obviously giving himself room, and Jofra, just like the unbelievable bowler he is, follows him, which also means that Guptill doesn't hit it out of the middle of the bat, catches the inside edge, and then sets off for probably one of the most vivid memories I'll ever have in my life. And I hope it stays with me for forever. But the ball's clipped out. Jason Roy's coming in, attacking it. He's probably attacking it at about 80%. And all I was thinking is gather it clean and get it somewhere near the stumps. And his throw is good, but the bounce is perfect. Joss has to come to the other side of the stumps about 2 yards. He gathers it right in the center of his gloves and then demolishes the stumps. And then from that moment, I still have goosebumps even when I talk about it. It's incredible. From that moment, we just ran around like school kids. You know, the true elation and joy from 4 years of driving towards one goal collectively and making memories, making great friends, having fantastic time, all happens and unfolds and unleashes any emotion in the space of, I don't know, seconds.
So how long did the celebrations go after that?
They went on for quite some time. I didn't play for, actually I'm probably still celebrating. I think every time I raise a glass, I'm always celebrating life. And not necessarily winning the World Cup, but just life. I'm an incredibly lucky person, or think of myself as an incredibly lucky and healthy person. So I'm always thankful.
Well, you said you've been lucky. Now, since you mentioned about being lucky, the 2016 T20 World Cup, last over, Stokes was the bowler. Would you call yourself lucky at that time?
Yeah, probably not at that time, but I think going similar to the experience that we had in 2015, you need to go through certain periods of your life that make you appreciate the better ones more. I think if you went through life either always losing or always winning, life wouldn't be fun. I think going through the ups and downs of life and going through the process of learning and hopefully becoming a better person and hopefully a little bit better at what you're trying to do as well, sort of curbs the person that you are and makes you the human that you are. So whether that's an experience where a guy who's never hit consecutive sixes in a World Cup or international game goes and hits four in a World Cup final, that's a curve I'm willing to go through in order to come out the other side of it. And I think going through that experience and watching all of the players come out the other side and learn was a fantastic experience to go through, because we came out the other side of 2015 World Cup, and actually I think there were 6 players that stayed that we thought were good enough to play the method to play in 2019, whereas in 2016 we still continue to think that the same team would learn from this experience.
And what better way than to win the World Cup in your home ground and the first English captain to win it after so many
Absolutely.
years?
And you look at things in life as well. Ben's contribution in last year was beyond what anybody expected. He's always had potential in abundance, and a huge amount of talent. And you go back to 2016 and think of the player that he was then, which was really fantastic. To learn even more and to take that forward really does sum up his capacity to learn and how much more he can get better. Because I think in other teams, other personnel, if they went through that experience, it might have had a much more significant impact, and we might have never heard of them again. Whereas Ben has just become better and more formidable player on the world stage since then.
Is there anything Ben Stokes can't do? Go for 4 6.
No, I think the cool thing is, the cool thing about Ben is that everything that he does just is, it's box office. People want to watch it, whether he's in the field with the bat or the ball or with the ball. It's incredible. I mean, he bowls 15 over spells and he scores match-winning hundreds for a guy who's still very young in his cricket career. It's incredible to think what he's achieved, and even more so what he can achieve moving forward.
Wonderful. Now that we've spoken more about cricket, 2019 World Cup, you having the new boy Leo, I wanted to ask you some fun questions and very honest answers. And if you want to dodge off any questions, that's fine. Just run through a few questions. What do you do after a defeat to cheer up? Just a quick one-line answer would do.
After a defeat to cheer up, I tend to stay around the team. The team are good fun to chat about experiences. You have to try and learn, and when you're learning, you're normally quite happy. So yeah, around the team.
If you are a movie star, which role would you have liked to play? Hollywood, obviously.
I would have loved to have changed. I really like the James Bond films. So I'd have loved to play James Bond.
Wonderful. Your favorite Bollywood actress? Bollywood.
Favorite Bollywood actress? There's loads, because I've watched some of Shah Rukh's films. So okay. I'm trying to think who the actress was. I've not watched any of the recent stuff, so I'm not quite sure. Maybe when I played at Calcutta, we met Deepika Padukone, and she was pretty good. She was in the Baywatch, actually. She's done Hollywood as well.
Your favorite Indian food?
Favorite Indian food? I really like biryani.
Okay. You love biryani, huh?
Biryani, yeah.
Super. Football or golf?
Golf. Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
United winning the Champions League or England as the number one test side?
England as the number one test side.
Anderson or Broad?
Oh, I have to say Jimmy, because Jimmy's been around longer and taken more wickets, but Broad could easily achieve what Jimmy has.
Your one's favorite sports person outside cricket, apart from cricket, right?
Yeah, there are a lot. I'm actually going to name. There's a guy growing up that playing for the Dublin football team that I used to love. His name is Kieran Whelan, who a fantastic human being and a great football player.
Okay, last question. Just let me put you in a fix. Better captain, Cook or Strauss?
Oh. Straussy selected me for my first England team, so I'm going to have to say Strauss.
Wonderful. Well, we had a great show, Owen, with you. Last but not the least, because we have just 40 minutes, I just wanted to say one message for your fans in this quarantine period. You know, people are going through tough times. What would you like to give?
Yeah, and I think it's important, more so in tough times in life, that we all stick together. I think a lot of us go through good and bad times, and I think when we go through good times, people give advice and help when it's really, really easy. But I think the most important is during the really tough times, when it might take a little bit of effort to help somebody out, or to give donations, or just to be on the end of a phone to speak to somebody, to help their mindset or mental health. So reach out, do things that you would normally do in good times, being a good person, but obviously going through this tough period, please be kind to people.
Thank you very much, Owen. It was a pleasure having you. And let me tell you very honestly, I enjoyed, as always, speaking to you. Take care of yourself, your family. Lots of love to Leo, and go well.
Pleasure's mine, Anas. Thank you very much, guys.
You take care.